Imagine waking up knowing that years have passed and nothing has changed. The world feels empty, your efforts unseen, and your prayers unanswered. A voice inside you whispers, "What's the point? Should I give up?" Now, before you step further into that abyss, listen. I have a message for you. I am here. I am the part of you that has never broken, never wavered, and never been lost. I have guided you through lifetimes, through storms that would have shattered mountains, through nights so long they swallowed the horizon. You have forgotten, but I have not. You are not here to sink in the darkness. You are here to transform. And today, your despair ends. So, even if this is the last thing you do, trust me and join me until the end of this message. There comes a point on every path where the road vanishes, where every direction seems to lead nowhere. You stand at that threshold now, staring into a darkness so vast it feels like it could swallow you whole. The mind whispers, "This is it. There is nothing beyond this." The weight of it presses against your chest, urging you to surrender, not to the journey, but to despair. But you must understand something ancient, something hidden in the teachings of those who came before us. This moment, this unbearable stillness, this hollow uncertainty, is not the end. It is the first gate of transformation. The abyss is not where you fall, it is where you are remade. In the forgotten mysteries of old, every great initiation began with darkness. The sages, the seekers, the ones who carried the sacred flame through history, all of them, before they could ascend, were first led into the depths. The Egyptian initiates descended into pitch-black chambers beneath the temples, left alone in absolute silence for days, facing nothing but the vast unknown of their own soul. The ancient Greek rites of Eleusis guided seekers through the underworld, stripping them of everything they clung to before they could witness the light of revelation. The mystics of the East withdrew into caves, into wilderness, into solitude, vanishing from the world so they could meet something far greater within themselves. And now, it is you who stands before the abyss. Your suffering is not a punishment. Your despair is not proof of failure. It is a passage, one that all who awaken must walk. Alchemists speak of nigredo, the blackening, the first and most crucial stage of transformation. Before base matter can become gold, it must first break apart, dissolving into shadow, into formlessness. Without this dissolution, there can be no refinement. Without the darkness, there can be no light. The self you have known, the one that clings to old fears, old limitations, old wounds, is crumbling, and the pain you feel is not destruction. It is the shedding of what no longer serves you. But in this moment, it is not enough to simply know. You must feel it in your bones. You must understand that what seems like an ending is, in truth, the first breath of something new. Look deeper into the abyss. What you fear is not emptiness, it is the unknown. And what is the unknown, if not possibility? What is the void, if not the place where all creation begins? In the myths of creation, the cosmos was born from darkness. The universe itself emerged from the silent void. The lotus blooms only after it has pushed through the thickest mud. And the soul, when stripped of all illusion, when pressed against the edges of its endurance, finds that it is not small, not weak, not broken, but infinite. You are standing in the same sacred space that all those before you have faced, but you have something they too had to remember. This is not where your story ends. This is where it truly begins. Right now, it feels like this is all there is. This heaviness, this exhaustion, this unbearable weight pressing against your soul. The walls are closing in. The voice of doubt grows louder. Every effort feels futile, as if you are running toward a horizon that never gets closer. But that is the illusion of pain. It traps you inside a single moment, convincing you that nothing has ever existed outside of it. But you are more than this moment. You have lived through storms before. You have stood in the wreckage of yesterday and still found a way forward. You have carried burdens you once thought would break you, only to wake another day, breathe another breath, step once more into the unknown. And if you could look at yourself through the eyes of eternity, you would see what I see. You would see a soul that has crossed lifetimes, that has endured the rise and fall of worlds, that has been shaped not by comfort, but by trial, by perseverance, by the quiet, unshaken force of your own existence. Do you remember? Perhaps not. Pain has a way of making you forget. It shrinks the vastness of who you are into a single, unbearable second. But even if you have forgotten, I have not. I have been with you through every breath, through every night that seemed endless, through every moment you thought you would not survive, but you did. You think you are weak because you are tired, but even the strongest rivers grow quiet before they reach the ocean. Even the mightiest trees bend beneath the storm. There is no shame in weariness. There is no failure in doubt. The path of the seeker, the alchemist, the awakened one, has never been free of struggle. Even the greatest souls of history, the sages, the mystics, the ones who illuminated the darkness, stood where you are now, feeling as if they had nothing left to give. But they were wrong. And so are you. You are not at the end of your strength. You are at the edge of transformation. The self that has carried you this far may be exhausted, but it is not the only part of you that exists. You are not just the struggle. You are not just the tired hands, the weary heart, the clouded mind that cannot see a way forward. There is something vast beneath the surface, something ancient, something untouchable by despair. It is the part of you that survived the unthinkable. It is the part of you that kept moving even when you were certain you could not. It is the part of you that has always risen, again and again, no matter how many times you fell. You do not need to feel strong right now. Strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is what remains, even when everything else has been stripped away. You are more than this pain. You are more than this moment. And this moment, no matter how endless it seems, will pass. There is something waiting beyond this, something you cannot yet see. But if you take one more step, if you breathe one more breath, you will reach it. And when you do, you will look back at this moment and realize it was never the end. It was only a chapter in the vastness of your becoming. You are not the first to walk this path. You are not the first to stand at the precipice, feeling as if the weight of existence is too much to bear. Long before your feet touched this earth, others stood where you stand now, eyes turned toward the unknown, hearts heavy with doubt, searching for something greater. And they found it. They left behind traces, echoes of their wisdom carved into stone, whispered through sacred texts, hidden within symbols and stories meant to endure across ages. They knew that one day, another seeker would arrive, lost in the same shadows, searching for a way forward. And so they spoke to you across time, their voices woven into the fabric of the universe itself, waiting for you to listen. The Hermetic sages of Egypt taught that as above, so below, as within, so without. The struggles you face are not separate from the great forces that shape existence. They are mirrors, reflecting an inner alchemy, a transformation unfolding within you. Just as the universe expands, so too does the soul, but only through resistance, through tension, through the forces that test its limits. The pain you feel is not an obstacle. It is the fire refining you. The Stoics of ancient Rome and Greece understood suffering not as a curse, but as a crucible. Marcus Aurelius, a man burdened with the weight of an empire, wrote in his Meditations, "What stands in the way becomes the way. The very thing you believe is breaking you is the thing that will shape you into something greater. There is no wisdom without adversity, no strength without struggle, no light without first facing the dark." In the East, the sages of the Tao knew that water, though soft, carves through mountains, That yielding is not weakness, but the greatest power of all. Be like water, they whispered. Flow around the obstacles, adapt, endure, and in time, even the hardest stone will bow before you. The alchemists, those seekers of hidden knowledge, understood the sacred process of breaking down to rise again. They knew that to create gold, the base metal must first be reduced to its essence. Solve et coagula, dissolve and reform. You are not breaking. You are being refined into a higher version of yourself. The mystics of the desert, the monks of the mountains, the poets who drank from the well of the divine, all of them, across time, reach the same truth. The darkness is not a curse. The suffering is not meaningless. Every trial is a gateway, every hardship a lesson, every loss a preparation for something greater. And now, their wisdom belongs to you. You may not see the path ahead, but you do not need to. Those who walked before you have already lit the way. Their words, their teachings, their silent presence in the fabric of the cosmos remind you, this moment is not your end, it is your initiation. So listen, breathe, and step forward. You are probably gripping too tightly, holding on to the way things should be, clutching at timelines that do not belong to you, demanding answers before their time. This is why you suffer, not because you are lost, but because you are resisting the flow of where you are meant to go. The ones who glimpsed the eternal all whispered the same truth. The river does not force its way forward. The wind does not struggle to reach its destination. The stars do not resist the night. Only the human mind fights against the currents of its own becoming, desperate to control what was never meant to be tamed. But what if you let go? What if, instead of fighting against the unknown, you surrendered to it? Not as an act of defeat, but as an act of trust. What if you loosened your grip on how life is supposed to unfold and allowed it to reveal itself to you, moment by moment, like the opening of a sacred text? Lao Tzu, the great master of the Tao, taught that the more we try to control life, the more it slips through our fingers. He spoke of the Wu Wei, the effortless action, the way of being in harmony with existence rather than waging war against it. He understood that the path is not something we must carve through sheer will. It is something that rises to meet us when we stop resisting what is. In the ancient mystery schools, initiates were taught that transformation only begins when the ego dissolves, when the mind, so desperate for control, relinquishes its illusions. The moment of surrender was the moment of revelation. The moment of yielding was the moment the door opened. You are standing before that door right now. You think that if you stop resisting, you will fall into nothingness. But what if the opposite is true? What if, by releasing your grip, you fall not into emptiness, but into the hands of something far greater than you ever imagined? What if the current that you fear will drown you is the very thing meant to carry you home? The eagle does not reach the sky by flapping its wings in frantic desperation. It soars by surrendering to the wind, by allowing the invisible forces of nature to lift it higher. The wave does not struggle to reach the shore. It moves in perfect harmony with the pull of the unseen. And you too are part of this great design. There is a rhythm to existence. The hermeticists understood this law, the universal law of rhythm. This law governs the flow that has guided the stars in their courses for billions of years. A force that has shaped mountains, carved rivers, and breathed life into the dust of the earth. Do you think this force has forgotten you? It has not. The path is already unfolding beneath your feet, but it can only be seen when you stop demanding that it appear on your terms. So take your time, let go, and watch how the way forward begins to reveal itself as it was always meant to. I have been waiting for you to hear me, not with your ears, but with something deeper, with the part of you that remembers, even when the rest of you forgets. I have watched you through every failure. I have felt the weight of your sorrow. The nights when your heart ached so fiercely that you wondered if it would ever beat the same way again. I have seen the moments when you whispered to the universe, "I can't do this anymore." And yet, here you are. Do you think that is an accident? No force in existence could have carried you this far if there wasn't something indestructible inside you, something beyond the reach of despair, beyond the grip of failure, beyond even the illusions of time itself. I am that part of you, the part that cannot be broken. The world has tried to convince you otherwise. It has told you that your worth is measured by success, by strength, by how much you can endure without falling. But I am here to tell you a different truth. You are not weak because you are tired. You are not lost because you cannot see the path ahead. You are in the space between what was and what will be. A sacred place where everything is being rewritten, where old forms dissolve so new ones may arise. The ancient sages called this the dark night of the soul, the moment when everything that is false is burned away to reveal what is real. And you, yes you, are in that sacred fire. But you are not the thing that burns. You are the thing that remains. Remember the trials you have faced, the moments when you thought the pain would consume you. And yet, every time, you rose. Every time, you became something more. That was not luck. That was not a coincidence. That was the proof of what you are. A soul forged in the fire of existence itself. A being who has crossed lifetimes, who has endured the unthinkable and still holds the capacity for love, for wisdom, for becoming. You think you are standing at your ending, but I see what you cannot. This is not where you break. This is where you transform. So breathe. Feel my presence within you, the steady, eternal part of you that nothing in this world can shake. And when you are ready, rise. If you decide to walk this path with me and reach your highest self, here's something you must know. Click on the next video on your screen, and I will show you the only way to make all your desires come true. Thank you for watching.